Today we start our first lesson of Unit 8, which is all about polynomials. So what exactly is a polynomial? Well, in the last unit, if you recall, we talked about monomials, and a polynomial is just a monomial or the sum of more than one monomial. So if we record a couple examples, maybe we have 2x squared, which is a monomial, minus 7x plus 3. So that's a polynomial with 3 different terms in it. Maybe another example would be something like 4x minus 3x cubed plus 10x squared minus 1. That's an example of a 4-termed polynomial. And just as a quick refresher, when we talked about monomials last unit, a monomial by definition is a number, a variable, or the product of a number and variables. And I'm going to put the S in parentheses because it can be one variable, it can be as many as is necessary. So a couple examples of monomials might be -7 or x squared, or something like we saw in the last unit might be -2x cubed y to the 4th. Those are all examples of monomials. Then along with that, we add 2 additional types of polynomials, and they are binomial and trinomial. And if we look at the prefixes here, if we go back to monomial, mono implies a single or one, whereas binomial, the prefix is bi, so think like a bicycle, that's 2. And if we look at the prefix to trinomial, that's tri, so think tricycle, that's 3. And that's exactly how it works. So a binomial is an expression containing 2 unlike terms. So maybe the terms might be 2x plus 3. So the first term is 2x, the second term 3. One of them has an x, the other one doesn't. Maybe another example would be x squared minus y. So totally different terms because one is an x variable, the second one is a y variable. And then a trinomial is just an expression containing 3 unlike terms. So one of our examples of a polynomial from above is actually a trinomial by classification. Giving you a couple more examples, we might have x squared minus 3x plus 6. So the first term is x squared, the second term is -3x, and the third term is 6. And then another example might be 4 plus 2x minus 3x cubed. So each term is different because they don't all have an x, they don't all have an x to the first power and x cubed. So that would be our first examples of monomial, binomial, and trinomial, which again are all polynomials. Some things we can do with polynomials. The first thing you'll see here is the concept of degree. And degree is very simply the greatest exponent in any polynomial expression. So if we look at these 2 examples here, we'll analyze each of the individual terms. And if we look, the degree of the first term is 3, the degree of the second term is 2, the degree of the third term, there's no exponent here, so it's assumed to be a 1. And then the degree of the -1, our last term, since it doesn't have an x, That's technically a 0. So the highest power here is 3, which is our overall degree. Take a look at our second example, and you'll see we've got a degree 1, 2, 3, and 4 for each of the individual terms. So this is a degree 4 polynomial. And we call both of these examples polynomials because they have 4 terms, which doesn't fit any of our other categories. So we can't classify those any further. The last thing we're going to talk about with polynomials to start is what's called standard form. And standard form is just an order of writing. It's typically the way that a polynomial will be written, like in a test question or in a multiple choice, they'll present the answers in standard form. And all it means is we write them in order, starting with the highest power and ending with the lowest power, or degree in that sense. So if we rewrite the first one, the highest power is power 4, so we want that 4x to the 4th term to come first. Then our next highest power is the third, so we're going to do negative 3x cubed, followed by our second power, which is plus 2x squared. And then finally, our last one would be plus x, since it's a power 1. And then our second example, they mix it up here a little bit. It's not completely backwards, so we have to search around a little bit. We get negative 6x cubed. Then the second highest power is power 2, so plus x squared. Then we need our power 1, which is plus 7x. And then finally our what's called a constant, if you recall that from our last unit, because it doesn't have a variable attached to it. All right, on the back you'll see there's some practice examples. So go ahead and give those a try, and then you can come back to the video to check your answers. Good luck.